following the biggest offseason of moves and acquisitions by General Manager Howie Roseman. The expectations of this city have never been higher. Welcome to the 2022 Lehocky Postgame Show on 6abc.com and across the JAKIB Sports YouTube channel, exclusively presented by Lehocky Giordano. Live from the Gallery Bar, booking games inside Ocean Casino Resort. Let's get this postgame show underway. EAGLES, Eagles.
And welcome everybody to the Lehocky Eagles postgame show. Okay, they're 8-0. It turned out the way we thought it would turn out. Some anxious moments that we'll get into, but they defeat the Houston Texans 29-17 tonight. And listen, the game turned out the way we thought it was going to turn out. However, and this is the first time I'm going to start out with kind of a negative vibe. They gave up way too many yards on the ground, and it was not a great night for the run defense. 168 yards on the ground this Texans team got, and Dameon Pierce with 139 himself. But once again, they were 21-17, and what do? They get that drive that gets them out of harm's way and gets them an easy victory at 29-17.
Well, I think this is the kind of team we're going to have to watch the rest of this season, Mike. It's not going to be perfect, but they make the necessary stops. They got a couple of turnovers. Again, they are the number one takeaway defense in the National Football League. And they got the takeaways, the takeaway momentum. They capitalized when they had to on another young quarterback, another team with devoid of a lot of talent. So they got the job done. I always say, I don't care about a pretty win. I just want to see a win.
They get the job done every week, and I know we're going to pick it apart. I'm Mike Missinelli, by the way. This is Derek Gunn, and that's Seth Joyner. Now, Seth, I want to go to you right away because I know you were not happy with what you saw with the run defense tonight.
Well, listen, we talked about this, after last week's game when Jordan Davis got hurt, and it's even that much more magnified tonight. This run defense is just not the same without him. And they've got Derrick Henry coming up later on. If he's not back 100%, that can be problematic. They got Aaron Jones, Saquon Barkley, Dillon. You got all these guys that can just flat out run the football, and they just basically just ran right at us tonight, and we had no answer for it. So it's going to be problematic because, like I said before, when you can't control the run, then that opens up the rest of the playbook. And against a quarterback that really understands what he's doing and knows what he's doing, he could have caused a whole lot of problems for the Eagles tonight.
Well, this has been a theme for most of the season of their inconsistency in the run defense. And luckily they're playing inferior opponents when this happens. You're going to play some teams that can stand up to you. If I'm Tennessee, looking down the road, Derrick Henry runs the football 40 times against this Eagles defense. You don't know, we know Jordan Davis is out 4 weeks minimum. But when you're talking about a high ankle sprain for a guy who's 6'6", 335 pounds, I'd be surprised if he comes back within 4 weeks. Especially when your legs are a primary concern of getting a push off when you're going in those trenches like that.
Oh, plus you're going to stay in shape.
You got to stay in shape.
That's a big
also,
fella, and he may be susceptible to, the cardio with the legs might not be the same as it normally is. Yeah. But first of all, I thought Jalen Hurts was great again today. Not great, but good enough. He got sacked a few times. 21 of 27, 243 for 2 TDs. Miles Sanders is pretty steady, 17 for 93. And I think this team, and I keep saying it every week, they know they're better than the other team. And I just think, they get bored sometimes, and they go, okay, maybe they weren't at their ferocious best to stop the run. Right. Because deep inside, they know they're going to win this game.
Yeah.
I know, Seth, you hate to hear that, but that seems to be the case here. If you're playing the Houston Texans, you go, okay, they're hanging around, but we know we're not going to lose to this team. And sure enough, when they get close, they go, all right, let's go on a drive, and we'll score a touchdown, and that'll be that.
Well, listen, the offense is high-powered enough that they can make things like that happen. And as bad as they were, the defense was in the run game, they were that more efficient in the pass game. Javon Hargrave with 3 sacks tonight. Are you kidding me? 5 sacks in the last 2 games. We can talk about how sorry the offensive lines were the last 2, but a sack is a sack is a sack, okay? He is like just on a whole nother level right now. And then the secondary, 2 more interceptions tonight. You know, they moved to what, plus 15?
At least.
By far, like plus 9 better than anybody else in the league. You know, just as long as you can continue to play, as long as you can equalize. If you can equalize on the offensive side, your deficiencies on the defensive side, and vice versa, then you're always going to be in position to win. And, you know, we can talk about the deficiencies. I'm not going to – listen, I'm done beating this football team up about the things that they don't do. You understand what I'm saying? Everybody knows how I feel, okay? Again, we played against a young quarterback that just doesn't get it, and we did nothing as far as applying the pressure to him to force the issue. Yet and still, we still sacked him 3 times. We still intercepted him twice. As a matter of fact, we got 7 of the points that we scored off that turnover.
Yes.
So, you know, what's there to complain about? Until the issues that besets this team that we see that we don't like, until those issues manifest themselves in a loss, I'm done complaining about it. I just am. They ain't no.
We were talking about Hargrave.
This would be great news for the Delaware Valley, by the way.
But you know,
he's been getting broiled.
You were talking about Hargrave, and we're sitting there watching him just bull rush the Houston Texans young offensive lineman.
Yeah.
Sign that man now. We've been talking about guys who may not be coming back next year. Sign Hargrave right now to be a stabilizing force along that defensive line.
I don't know about that, D-Gun.
Why not?
Because
you got to keep him or Fletcher. Who do you want?
You're taking advantage right now
of
inferior players.
Exactly.
Okay. I want to see him do that against the Tennessee Titans. I want to see him do that against the Giants twice.
Right.
And the Dallas Cowboys before I sit back and
Right.
consider whether I want to, you know, extend that guy. You know, the funny thing about when you extend players in today's game, the minute you extend them, it's almost like they exhale, and all of a sudden they disappear. What the hell happened to Josh Sweat? We don't even hear his name anymore.
No.
After last year, he has a great half a season the year before. They extend him. Tell me how many sacks he's got now. How many pressures does he got?
I joke.
So I'm leery about stuff like that. I want to sign guys that are eternally hungry and realize that, you know what, the minute I give you the money, that's the time where you really got to play. Because if you don't, within the next year or 2, I'm going to be coming to you and telling you, hey, we got salary cap issues.
Yeah,
I need you to take a
I
cut.
think you're right about that. I think
joke,
they
man.
realized that, too. That's why they went out and got Quinn. Explain that turnover differential. They put a graphic on at the end of the game. The Eagles are the first team with that kind of a positive turnover differential through the first 8 games since the 1972 Pittsburgh Steelers.
Wow.
So you know how great that defense was. So that's pretty impressive. The other side of that is, you know, this is a team
but
that
Mike, hold on one second.
Yeah.
It's one thing for the defense to be that impressive. It's a whole nother thing for the offense to be that impressive. I mean, you look at Jalen Hurts isn't turning the football over.
Yeah.
He had a fumble tonight.
First fumble. First fumble of the year for
I
the
don't
team.
know what the heck happened to Jordan Mailata tonight, but he looked like he was sleepwalking.
Not just tonight. Last Sunday against Alex Highsmith, had the same problem.
D-Gun. I mean, I'm standing here and I'm watching the guy run around him, and I'm yelling at Jalen. I'm like, get rid of it, because he's got one more tick before he can just slap the ball out of his hands. I mean, in the same series, you give up 2 sacks to Jerry Hughes.
2 sacks in 3 plays.
Jerry Hughes is 34 years old. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, and actually Lane got beat on that one play, and we're going to have Lane Johnson on the show. He got beat on that one play, and he went for the ball instead of just burying Jalen Hurts down there. But, you know, I don't know what else to say until they get challenged by a really good team, and we'll see what they're all about. I mean, we can look at that, and that's definitely a problem spot. Mailata, for the last couple games, has not looked like the steady left tackle that we were used to seeing. The run defense wasn't that great, but they're playing the Texans, and now they can just sit and not do anything except maybe wish the Phillies can come back in this World Series over the weekend where they don't have to stress themselves about playing an NFL game.
D-Gun, the one thing that I see with Jordan Mailata is, from a technique standpoint, when you're that big, you just want to maul people.
Right.
And the problem is he's jump setting a lot of these guys now. Instead of kicking and letting the guys come to him, he's not kicking. He's trying to jump set everything. And because these guys are so fast and they can dip and bend, they're getting around the corner.
Sure.
He needs to some time to refresh on his technique where he kicks and sits. And you got 360 pounds. The quarterback's back there. You got to come through me to get to the quarterback instead of me trying to jump set you and letting you get around me or overextending and you shooting up underneath.
Here's what I've seen from Mailata. He's a half second to a second too late getting out of his stance off the snap. The defensive lineman is beating him off the snap, and he knows the snap count. Now, this is 2 straight games. He had problems with Alex Highsmith in Pittsburgh last week, and he had problems tonight with old man Jerry Hughes. Now, I don't know if the shoulder is a part of the problem or not, but the bottom line is, it's like, why are you a half second later than everybody else off the snap of the ball?
So you mean to tell me it's not necessarily the crowd noise so much as it is, his reaction time?
Well, the other 4 guys are in sync. What's he doing?
Well, I mean, listen, when you're on the road, I can get it. Because, the further you get from the center, the harder it is to, kind of get an idea of what the snap count is.
Lane Johnson didn't have a problem on the other side. Come on now.
I tried,
D-Gun. No, look, Lane Johnson knew what the snap count was.
Plus, they had about 15 fans there tonight in Houston.
Exactly. You had more Eagles fans than Texan fans there.
Yeah, so, what do we where do we stand now? They're 8-0.
Yes,
they're
exactly.
8-0, and they're going to be probably 10-0, and we can discuss all these little warts, and it's appropriate to discuss them because we want them to step it up against a real good team that they're going to play. But, who is that team? It's going to be Dallas. It might be the Giants. I mean, I don't know. And at this point, I'm looking at them like they do just enough to get done. They're superior to every team they've played so far. They're superior to probably every team in the NFC. So I'm okay.
You know what? I couldn't agree with you more. And like I said off the top of the show, it's not going to be pretty all the time. But we can sit here and break down the negatives, as we will do each and every week. But the positives are this team is still standing where nobody else is standing right now, unblemished in the National Football League through 9 weeks of the season. Now, if they continue to do that, hey, be as inconsistent as you want if you get to 17-0 being inconsistent.
Listen, I just, there's no way that I can continue to beat up an 8-0 team. There's just no way. I mean, there's things that I see that I understand about the game of football that they do that I don't like, okay? But I also realize that it's an imperfect game, and the fact that they're still standing at 8-0 and everybody else, almost everybody else is, 1 or 2 games behind them, like I said, until some of these flaws manifest themselves in a loss, then maybe it's time to just back off, enjoy the ride, and see where it goes. But you just I know if I watch and I wait long enough that some of these flaws are going to manifest themselves within the framework, of a game in a 17-game season.
Seth, I hear you with that because they're going to run up against a good team. Are they going to be able, against a good team, to be able to say, okay, we need a scoring drive here, let's do it easy peasy? Because that's what they have done so far this year, and they did it again tonight. I mean, that drive after the field goal was a beautiful drive. Jalen made some great throws. One against a middle linebacker blitz where he was way off balance. He flicks it down to Goddard. Goddard made a couple catches on that drive to get him out of harm's way to get to 29-17 after the 2-point conversion. And they were 4 for 4 in the red zone scoring touchdowns tonight against the Texans.
See, I would say I'm more afraid of the defense not being able to make a stop when they need to than I am the offense needing to make a play,
yeah.
needing to make a drive, to save the game or to keep or to stay perfect. I just am, because I don't see within the framework of what they do the ability to really create pressure or the desire to create pressure beyond the four-man rush, and you're going to play against some much better offensive lines than you played the last 2 weeks. So you got away with, 9 sacks, in the last 2 games?
Yep.
That's not going to necessarily be the case once you start playing some of these better offensive lines. And we've seen before where the four-man pressure, the four-man line just not is enough to get done what you need to get done. Does Jonathan Gannon have it in him to dial it up when he needs to dial it up? We'll see.
I would like to take this time to also apologize to the Houston Texans because the last couple of days I had made fun about the fact that I thought the Eagles would be 8-0 by halftime in this game. I thought the Eagles would be able to pad their stats significantly against the Houston team that is basically already playing for next year's draft. Houston gave them a game, and I give Houston credit. They came out here. They were on national TV. They knew they were at a severe deficit. They came out here and battled, made the game interesting for much of the game. They just don't have enough talent. But I tell you what, like I told you guys before kickoff, this young man, Dameon Pierce, that they have, this kid can flat out play. If they ever get some talent around him, I saw him go beast mode on his Eagles defense a couple of times. He freight trained a couple people. And what did he have, a $139 rushing in this game?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness!
I'm not going to give them any credit.
Why not?
Why not? Because they stink. They're a lousy football team.
But you had to pay attention to them, Mike, for at least most of the game.
They had some moments tonight. They were
Mike,
cold.
if you look at the same,
I think the Eagles allowed them to be close in this game.
Allowed them?
Yes, I'm not going to give the Texans team any credit for. Hey, the line was 10 on the game. They wound up losing by 12.
No, he's not asking.
He's
not asking you to give the team credit.
I said I'm apologizing. I give fun of the team.
No, you give credit to Dameon Pierce, because I saw
runs hard.
I saw some Eagles defenders tonight that didn't really act like they wanted.
They didn't want to tackle.
None of 31.
Maybe that's why he was so successful, because the Eagles weren't. They weren't rabid tonight on defense against the run.
Come on, Mike. I saw a number of Eagles defenders doing this. When Dameon Pierce came, they were doing this. They were throwing chicken wings at him, Mike.
He's a good player, but what are we supposed to give the Houston Texans? A participation trophy?
Yes.
We get him a gold cup that you get at Michael's?
Houston's whole season is a participation trophy, man. I just gave him credit for showing up and making the game interesting, not for losing the game. I just gave the Eagles a nice workout for most of the game. That's all I'm saying.
They gave him a workout.
It was
an inter-squad
game. That's all I'm saying, man.
Listen, let me give you some numbers to give you some perspective. Okay. Dameon Pierce carried the ball 27 times for 139 yards. For an average of 5.1. Okay.
Yes.
Do you know how many teams in the NFL would die for 5 yards of carry? Are you kidding me?
I'm not denying. I'm not denying that Pierce had
I
a good
understand
game.
that. So I'm just saying,
this team's a lousy team. The Eagles knew they were a lousy team, and they weren't playing with their hair on fire defensively against the run. Now, are they a team that is going to get beat that way a lot? You just mentioned Tennessee. Tennessee's going to run the ball against them, right?
If Tennessee rolls in here and Ryan Tannehill is still hurt and Malik Willis has to start, and Derrick Henry's going to come in here and run for 200 yards on this football team.
Well,
if they play run defense,
he'd be better, because they're no good either.
It doesn't matter though. It doesn't matter whether he better or not. Okay. The fact is, if they play run defense the way they played tonight, with no imagination, with no movement, you're just going to line up and let both of your defensive tackles get double teamed and work up to the second level on both linebackers. They're going to get the ball ran down their throat. That's just a fact.
Yeah.
There was a big swing in this game, and that good team may have taken advantage of, because the Eagles had a 4th and 2, third and 2, and Sanders' knee touched before they converted that first down, so they wound up having the punt. But then the Texans give it right back to him. Mills is intercepted by C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Graham got some pressure on him, and the Eagles get it and they convert a real short field into a touchdown that gives them a 21-14 lead. That's the difference between a good team that they're playing and a bad team that they're playing. And it seems like every team they play has that bad gene that would make a mistake like that.
You got to play who you got to play. Mike.
No, I know. I'm just saying. That's a big swing of the game. I mean, that was an important part of that game.
Slide your chair over. We're going to leave him out there on that island all by himself.
Mike. You know what? I try to stay neutral, but tonight,
what exactly am I saying wrong here? That team they played tonight was incapable of beating that.
I agree.
So we'll give them a blue ribbon or whatever that second place ribbon
Mike,
is.
all I said was I give them kudos for not quitting. You know, a lot of teams basically go out there and go through the motions when they know they have nothing to play for, basically. They're not going to win this game. They knew that on paper. The Eagles knew they couldn't beat them. Houston knew they couldn't beat the Eagles. They went out there, but they made it interesting for a while. That's all I'm saying. And you took it to a whole nother level.
I didn't take it to a whole nother level. I'm saying that when you're a team that knows you're so much better than the other team, and I know we're supposed to compete on every down and this and that. They didn't compete to stop the run. They did not. You saw it. They didn't compete hard enough tonight to stop the run. He's a good player, but I think that was a major factor in him looking so good. And the Texans accumulated that many total yards.
Here's my concern, and we've talked about this several times. You start forming certain habits; those habits are hard to get out of. And Houston came out of the gate running the football right down the middle, right down Main Street.
Yep.
And the Eagles didn't make the necessary adjustments to stop that from happening. Now, they stopped them occasionally, but they didn't make enough of the necessary adjustments to stop it from happening. Now, as we've just said, when you start playing some of the better teams, that could be a major problem. That's all I'm saying.
I totally agree with you. So, you know, at this point, I look at this team. You know, we came in tonight thinking, okay, there's no chance that we're going to have to talk about a loss.
Hey,
right? When you do a post-game show and you take that away from, like it's like eliminating a fastball from the count, right?